With half the season in the books, the page rolls over to 2024 and the RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series has 4 more races left to run. Tonight, a driver's choice. We head to the Rock for what's bound to be an exciting outing with 120 laps thrown onto the board. Welcome along to RaceSpotTV to a new year where Arjuna Kenkipati joined alongside with Derek Watson, getting ready to walk you through all of the action. Derek, this should be an intriguing one. Drivers, of course, leading the charge and picking where they were going to go racing, and we start a new year with a really fascinating track.
A really fascinating track full of unknowns, Arjuna. You see it there. Rockingham is the track tonight. We'll, of course, finish up then with Charlotte Auto Club and Atlanta to end off the season. But a lot of drivers are unsure how this track's going to drive.
And, well, you say unsure how it was going to drive. They still almost a majority of the drivers elected to come here. You see some of the other choices. Watkins Glen, a road course round, and then Richmond and Darlington, a couple of short tracks in their own regard. But this is one, of course, I think the drivers are going to be very much looking forward to, especially knowing where we stand in the championship with, of course, Seth DeMerchant being the only 2-time winner on the season. He has built up a slight championship advantage over those behind. Malik Ray, Michael Gass, the other race winners so far, and from that you can ascertain from this championship standings, consistency going to be very important for the rest of the field, Derek, to try and close that gap.
Consistency indeed, and finishing well. No drop weeks, so no safety nets to play with here. Seth DeMerchant has a great lead right now, but one bad night and this title chase is wide open.
And you look through the rest of the points as well. Plenty of drivers up and down. RaceSpot's own Dylan Cole not racing tonight. He's in 21st position, and so we'll be hoping to see him next week back out there on track. The practice session is just about to come to a close. The drivers will be sent out there for 5 minutes and for qualifying, and for a relatively important qualifying session. The first 4 years that this track was in operation, it was a flat 1-mile oval before it was converted to this high bank D-shaped oval that has become so historic since then. And I think qualifying in a track like this is going to be all about, especially in these cars, Derek, being brave.
Being brave indeed. This is a track that has some really aggressive lines you need to take, and you have to be brave here too, because history has shown that maybe passing on this track with how narrow it can feel is quite difficult. So track position will be something we'll talk about all night long here at the Rock. It's going to be a fun track. Of course, a track that really, in real life, Arjuna, is trying to get revitalized. There's a lot of fan support behind getting it back on the NASCAR schedule. Of course, that's a difficult task. That's a zero-sum game in real life.
Just a little bit. I didn't realize, by the way, it's been so long since I last commentated, or was a part indeed of a real sim racing event. It's great to be back, but open qualifying at a track like this, boy, that's going to be fun, especially as drivers are blending back out onto the racing surface. I think bank collapse is going to be somewhat important as we get the 5-minute clock underway. We're watching the 04 of Galen Gidman out of that final corner, and he's going to get a whole lot of opposite lock going as he gets checked up behind the 17 on the run towards the line. But as the first times begin to trickle in, it's already seeming like these cars are going to be loose.
Yeah, cars are going to be loose indeed. That's part of what all the drivers seem to know tonight. We'll talk through some driver notes later, but talking to the drivers, I heard a lot of hold on, gripping it and ripping it was the quote I heard a couple times tonight, and talking to the drivers, knowing it's going to be a handful all night long.
Right now, Agnell Phillips at the top, but just by 17 thousandths of a second over Michael Laraya. But almost about halfway through the session already, Phillips migrated up about the halfway track on the halfway point on the track, and now 1,000th quick on Michael Laraya. Seth DeMerchant faster, Phillip even faster as the time just continue to tumble.
Yeah, they'll knock off some times here as the tires warm up a little bit. The groove will come in. Maybe he'll pick up a small draft on the back straight to help with a 1/10 of a second. Oh, there's a wall hit by Michael Laraya. That will invalidate that lap.
And that is something you do need to be careful of, isn't it? Especially at a track like this where you'll run multiple lines.
Man, look how bumpy that surface was right there, Arjuna. That car for Laraya was up and down, and now he's going to come down pit road again and get that damage fixed before making another run at it. And
so damage, but also I assume tires in some regard as well. Halfway through this session, plenty of the drivers are lit up in gold on the left as they head their way down on towards pit lane. Phillips going to be one, though, that continues to run around and down to the apron. Clearly going to be his final lap, but it's not an improvement. He's another one now that joins the party, heading down to pit lane and resetting to go again.
You know, something I noticed about the top of the board here, Arjuna, and this is what I suspected to be the case tonight. This is a track that's not used a whole lot in iRacing officials. It kind of comes and goes here sparingly. So our drivers at the top of the board, your E-Current or former E-NASCAR drivers who've run this track repeatedly, will probably have an advantage to start the night.
I'm curious how that's going to play out over the long run as well. Now, a qualifying session not necessarily representative of what we are going to see in the longer stretches, but we do have tire sets to think about as well, as the 88 of Andrew Farinage gets the rear end stepping out on him. He's 83,000 soft, but I think he's all now just setting up for this next run on track. Let's jump on board and ride around with him then and see what it's all about on his first flying run on this qualifying attempt.
Wow, look at that car just throw itself up the hill there, and he's just going to kill this run. But look how much that car moved. I don't think he was moving it. I think that's just the bumps in the surface here. You know, I believe in real life there either is or has been a resurfacing of this track, but that's not available here. So this will be a challenge all night long. If you're a driver who loves force feedback on your wheel, you're going to get a workout tonight. No arm day tomorrow at the gym. You're going to get it right here at Rockingham.
Just a bit of a natural sort of a workout. I'm just admiring how much load the drivers are putting in through the entry into the corners. Currently 20 drivers on the board, 4 sitting in pit lane and seemingly not running out there for qualifying, and so with 50 seconds left, the final real gambits are coming in. Maybe 2 more laps, if that, for the drivers. Here's Nathan Jurgensen in the number 31, who's running down the back straightaway, but has some traffic in front of him.
Oh, that traffic just got loose.
Gets out of the way, no.
Yeah, that'll clear traffic for you. That was Sam Nieto, I'm pretty sure, in that red car we saw getting loose. And there's this right here is, of course, one of the Altus cars.
That's Seth DeMerchant. I think that might be his qualifying session in the books. No improvement on what would be his final attempt. Andrew Farinage gets some contact with the number 90 of DeAndre Kane as he ran his way down the back straightaway, and that's his session in the books as well. And now with the checkered flag officially out, laps will count for the drivers that are still out there.
Yeah, that'll count for just a couple left here. I think most people are going to kill the run. That's Tom Wetmore going to come down and call it a day. And here's one more. That's got to be killing it. If you're not killing it, that's not a good run.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that at the most what you are going to do now is practice a pit entry. Maybe not a bad idea as well, given that, well, we are expecting probably a few cautions here and there, but if you get caught out by a lack of them, you want to be able to take advantage. There's a driver spinning their way down on towards the pit lane, not necessarily what they were hoping for, but as we take a look at the race information, 125 laps, 0 fast repairs. It's the 4 tire sets that I am really curious to see how they'll play out.
Yeah, that's the curious part for me as well, because you can't pit every caution here and take tires. You'll be out pretty quickly, so you got to play that mental negotiation, if you will. And of course, there are green-white checkers if we get there. We'll worry about that later. Round 5 here at this race, and so we're going to line up the grid and take a look at it.
So 4 more rounds to go after this one, of course, or including this one, I should say, but what a first half of the season it's been. Let's see how they'll start off 2024 by running down to the starting grid. Agnel Phillip will be alongside Nathan Jurgensen and just split by 14,000th of a second, but in a race where qualifying is expected to be oh so important. Seth DeMerchant and Andrew Farinage starting behind one another on that second row of the starting grid. Michael Lariah will line up alongside Cody Harris, and as you jump back onto row 4, you'll find Carl Trudell and Garen Weinmaster alongside one another. The 51 of Tom Wetmore is alongside Sam Nieto in that bright red machine, with Ross Cato, Carl Kamer making up the rest of the front 12 starting positions. A 24 starting car field here, and so Braden Whitaker and Doug Rother in the back half, but with some work to do to move forward, along with Galen Gidman and Mutasi Major, Mike Maddox and Sean Kalis 17th and 18th position respectively, with Eric Papigno and DeAndre Kane 19th and 20th, the final drivers with times on the board. You've got Guest, Stevenson, Ross and Grindell that will roll from the very back, and that's a difficult position to be with the field lined up behind the pace car and ready to go, because 125 laps here may sound like a lot, but Derek, if we did go green, knock on wood, that's only about 50 odd minutes of racing.
Yeah, these are very quick laps here. I mean, your pole time, of course, which will slow down a little bit in the race, but your pole time was a 23.867, so 24-second laps, roughly 25-second laps. It'll go by quick here, and I was going to bring it up as a race point, and we saw it in the qualifying laps, Arjuna. This is not one of those tracks where you feel like you have a lot of time to breathe. There's always something to do at this track whether it's get into the corner, get out of the corner, manage the banking, manage the front straight. This is a very, very busy racetrack just by yourself, not counting the other 23 combatants.
Now, it's something that I'm hoping not to bring up, but I should do so right now. There is a small, infinitesimally small possibility that we hit a time limit, but don't worry, that time limit is 2 hours and 20 minutes. There is probably no realistic chance that we hit that, but something you always have to bring up, especially heading here to the Rock. Again, 24 drivers let loose and ready to go. Michael Guest seemingly going to start down on pit lane, but everyone else is ready to go. Expectations, Derek. Remember, the drivers voted for this. They're the ones that wanted to come here.
Yeah, we have a very sketchy racetrack with a very loose race car naturally in the Gen 4. I expect to see lots of wiggles, lots of holding on to the car. And the only thing I'm not sure of is the line they're going to run here. We'll talk about that new oval refresh as the night goes on. I think we're going to start on the bottom and work our way up as the night goes on.
And especially with those tire sets being limited, how the drivers are going to use them is going to be important. Let's not forget, in 2023, DeMerchant notched up the 2 victories. Malik Ray and Michael Guest, 2 victories apiece for them as well. But as we get ready to say goodbye to the pace car, field left in control of Agnel Phillip, and it's 2024's RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series. 4 races that will see the championship decided that get underway at the Rock. Great jump from Phillip behind. DeMerchant goes very tentative into the first corner. Launched around the outside by Cody Harris as they run side by side for what is 4th position, but a wiggle off the corner, a bump, but the 57 settles back into line. It's single file for the front 4. Michael Lariah still trying to get side by side and move on forward at the end of lap number 1.
Now Cody Harris right now stuck on that outside lane, Arjuna. If this cars keep passing the inside, he'll get stuck way back. If he's going to get in line here, Cody Harris, that scarlet and gray car right there, the little Ohio State reference, but doing well there. Got himself in line on the back straight. Now down to turn 3. Look how quickly they all got single file here. Everyone wants to be in line together and not miss out on that little bit of draft. And apparently for right now, the bottom line is the line that's preferred for the front of the field.
No real side-by-side action until you go outside of the top 10, where we just seen a pass between Galen Gidman and Braden Whitaker. But as we look backwards from Michael Lariah, you see a poke to the inside from Kyle Trudell. This, you mentioned passing being difficult. Patience is going to be so important, and taking advantage of opportunities. Look how Trudell's almost alongside on the run towards the line.
And look how not only aside, look how they both wiggled. Both of them wiggled out of that corner. And it's might happen again. Let's see. Let's just Cody Harris in front of us. A little better that time, but they both wiggled in that turns before here. So just keep the pressure on Cody Harris. Let him know you're there, and you're just going to kind of hope that he makes a mistake that you can capitalize on.
This looks like a lot of fun, I must say, and finally alongside Trudell will try and squeak on through, but pinched tight initially by Harris, who gets run up the track. Opportunity and door open for Tom Wetmore in the 51, who squeaks on through. 2 positions lost in the spaces of 1 corner there for the number 28 is behind. Sam Nieto gets in front of Jaron Weinmaster.
Yeah, Sam told me he's not put a single lick of practice in before tonight. Had a great holiday break, and so he was unsure how he was going to perform at this track. So he just wants to be conservative at first, ride the line, learn where it is. But look at this battle right here. This is between the 9 and the 8 ball. That's going to be Jaron Weinmaster and Kyle Kammer. And the 9 is going to come out and lead, at least for the moment here.
Nice little run between the 2 of them as Weinmaster at least holds off the pressure for the time being. You can really tell how much these drivers are working that right foot and trying to be patient on the throttle as well. But as they battle just inside of your top 10, Weinmaster 10th, Kyle Kammer 11th, at the very front of the field. By no means is Agnel Phillip being allowed to run away. Michael Guest did end up starting from pit lane, is still on the leading lap technically, but is in danger of going a lap down from what the timing screen would indicate. But 4 tire sets, 125 laps. How do you think drivers are going to play out the strategy here today, Derek?
Well, the first thing you do is you do the math, right? So basically, 125 divided by 4 is roughly about 32, 31 laps apiece. But then you need to start to play a little bit harder on it if you can and factor in those green-white checkers at the end. So the first thing you do is you'll do the math evenly, and then you go, okay, well, I'm at lap 28, I'm at 30, it feels good. Maybe I can get that extra run out of this first set of tires and make it feel better. So they'll start to make those kind of, what I call them, negotiations with yourself in your head to see how it feels, how it sounds, and then you kind of start to talk yourself into running more laps. But don't get stuck out too long, or you'll be just well behind the pace.
A little bit of a battle brewing as Farinaj looks down low as DeMerchant goes up high. We're fanning out 3 abreast, running out of turn 2, and DeMerchant runs out of steam, checked up behind the 31, back straight sees Farinaj with the nose in front, but pass not done by any means. DeMerchant once again going higher and higher and higher as he rips the wall.
I thought they were going to be 3 wide there, and I'm pretty sure 3 wide is about as dangerous as you can get here. I don't know how bumpy this track is, how you make 3 wide work here, or if you can, but I got nervous for them, and I'm up here in the booth. That got scary.
I'm really impressed at how willing DeMerchant was to go up high, but clearly instantly back down low as they passed Nathan Jurgensen. Larai's decided, let me try and go the long way around as well. At the stripe has almost his entire car in front, and as much as 31's going to try and rip the yellow line, pressure certainly building. DeMerchant instantly back up high as he tries to now pass the 88. I think we're going to see a battle for the lead very shortly.
Battle for shortly indeed. It's been a common battle throughout the season, the DeMerchant Agno Phillip battle, but really it just shows why Seth DeMerchant is one of the best at what we do. Watch his confidence here. He's putting the car up high, he's put it down low, he's put it everywhere, and it just seems to run. You know, he had that confidence to go 3 wide and do it to stick. That confidence is what a race car driver needs to know what you can and can't do and to be successful.
The laps are ticking away right now. The drivers are starting to get just that little bit more spread out through the field. Michael Guest not necessarily in danger of being lapped just yet. He's in fact closing on those at the very tail end of the field. Larai up the inside of DeMerchant, going to squeak his way on through, and not really fought there. Yeah, you can, I think, tell that the little bit of frenzy that was stirred up momentarily settles back down as Trudell up the inside of DeMerchant, who's seemingly experimented a little bit, run his tires a little bit warm and said, okay, I figured some stuff out, let me ride back in line for the time being.
Yeah, that's what you got to do in the first part of races. You need to experiment, try a couple things out, maybe even your first pit stop, you try something and see how well it does or doesn't work, so you have that knowledge for later. But now we're looking right here. This is Kyle Trudell that we were seeing there a second ago. We're going to move the cameras around here. This is number 88. He's really the first car who's consistently ripping the top line. We see DeMerchant up there a little bit, but look, the 88's up here. Let's see if he does it again here. Nope, it's going to be down here in the groove in the bottom on 1 and 2. Running down the 94 here. That's Agno Phillip, and that is Andrew Frenosh there in the 88.
Has a half look down low. Phillip gives the inside line to the 88. Not willing to play defense just yet. They are actually closing back up slightly to Michael Guest the last couple of laps, so that is actually going to be a bit of a factor. How aggressive is Andrew Farinaj going to be, though, in trying to work his way on forward? There you see at the very front of the shot, the moment of traffic, the drivers will navigate their way on through, but Farinaj settles back into line, and it's a line that goes all the way back to 19th position if you take a look at the track map on the bottom right corner of your screen, where they're still fighting through the field.
Yeah, still fighting back here. This is the Kyle Kemmer. We saw him earlier in the 8 car. Now fighting with that Sprite Cranberry paint scheme, a favorite Evan Pasoko and I. Of course, Evan not here tonight. He's off watching his Michigan Wolverines attempt to win a national title, or doing their first since '97. So Evan will be back next week here in the booth.
Clearly has to get his priorities set in order. He's not here for the first race of 2024. I mean, come on. The commitment to real sim racing is lacking. Up the inside, the half look from Montasi Major. We're at the point in the run now where almost 20 laps in, the drivers are starting to feel, I think, a little bit more comfortable. Those jitters would surely have gone. We've gone through the first portion of the race without any sort of a caution period so far. And so even if there are a couple of drivers starting to languish down the back, it's been a nice opening stanza to the race. Still looking at the front 3 that are holding each other very, very honest. Quite surprised to see that DeMerchant now slipping further and further back in line as there goes the 88 up high once more.
It just makes you wonder if in all that experimenting with the high lane and trying to make things work, if maybe Seth burned up this first set of tires. But there's a lead change. I think Agno got loose there. As great as Andrew is, he took advantage of a loose moment there by Agno Phillip, and new leader here on lap 21 at Rockingham.
What a wonderful pass that was, and I think Phillip recognized that there was no use fighting too hard, back down low instantly and going to settle into line. He is looking very, very sideways, though, off the corner, though not a comfortable look by any means as we tick past lap 21. And still have a long, long way to go in this one, as now it's Michael Lariah that goes up high, and he's going to put the same amount of pressure, and this is where the gamesmanship goes. You go up high, the car down low starts to think, what does he need to do to respond? Lariah not going to be able to phase the 94 this time into turn 3.
And remember, Agno Phillip already having looseness in those tires, only on lap 21, 22. Remember, we said the math equation is about lap 31 to 32 to break these tires into 4 sets, so right now, Agno Phillip is frustrated, thinking, man, I got 10 more laps before I can realistically pit for the first time and put new tires on this.
It's a nice, easy pass in the end for Lariah. And now Farinaj goes up high to cover off the look behind. So it looking a little bit more aggressive on the defense. Seemingly a couple of cars maybe coming down pit lane. Sean Kalis has run his way down onto the box, as that might be a caution. Winemaster's around. Involved, I think, was Doug Roth as well. But there we go. Yellow flag flies with 23 laps done and dusted.
Wow, big moment right there on the front straight. We'll have to wait and see when the race spot replay machine queues up here about what happened. I'm going to guess someone just ran out of track space.
And like you were saying, we were at the point of the run where tires were starting to go up. Here's a look at what happened as they ran off of that final corner.
You got a bump from the 8, looks like, and just went up the track and nowhere for that Sprite Cranberry machine to be except right in the way. Watch this here again. Little bump from the 8. And an important note, we talked about it during Super Speedway weeks, Arjuna, but these bumpers do not line up. Any kind of bump in these cars gets you wicked loose automatically.
Yeah, but that at this track in particular, right, it's not necessarily something you're too often thinking about at super speedways. Yes, very much, but it's in those type of moments where that distinction becomes important. I think the field's going to be on pit lane in its entirety, if we're being entirely honest. But here we go as Farinaj will lead them in. Remember, one of 4 tire sets likely to be used by the drivers as they slow roll their way on in. As much as it's left up to the execution of the automated pit crew to get things done, what the driver does have to do right now, Derek, is hit their marks.
Hit their marks, stay right on that brink of that speed limit down pit road, and be ready to go here and ready to pull off as soon as possible and not spin the tires. That's the biggest part of pit road that people miss, Arjuna, is not spinning the tires on the exit. You can gain or lose a lot of time there, and we're watching some pit stops happen here around there. There's Agno Phillip at the back of that screen there.
And so we'll find out who wins the race off of pit road. Already a couple of the engines go off. Phillip's not going to be out first. Instead, Lariah. Phillips second by virtue of that great stall location. Farinaj third. Trudell fourth. And DeMerchant's down in fifth. Mike Maddox did end up staying out, though. Interesting call as he runs at the front with 26 lap old tires now.
That is interesting. That's going to be interesting. Now, what it does is probably gives him the benefit of possibly like an extra set or a better set of tires later. Because right now, pitting at lap 26, unless there's a lot of cautions to level off this field, and that might be Maddox down pit road. There it is. He's just come in a lap late. So maybe he just missed the opening the first time.
Or maybe he just wanted to try and get to the back and stay out of trouble. Because pit lane can be very busy, and what some people do sometimes forget, Gianni Vecchio found out in dramatic fashion in the 2022 IMSA Esports season finale, is you can make contact with other cars on pit lane. Not necessarily a fun thing to do.
Yeah, we saw it a couple weeks ago in RSR with Dylan Coyle and another driver. They made contact. All right, race spots.
Dylan did it!
He did it, yep. They thought, because of course in iRacing, you pull back the curtain a little bit. If you're in the pit stalls, you typically are safe and exempt from collision, but him and the other driver were not quite there yet since they made contact on pit road under caution. So we have seen here in RSR as well. It
saw it with Dylan as well, even better.
Yeah, right.
I'm just disappointed he's not here, so I can't rib him a little bit if you can't tell.
He is recovering from some medical stuff, so gets well soon. Dylan Coyle, he's posted about an RSR Discord, so I think it's safe to talk about. But I think he'll be back next Monday night, I believe is his planned return. He's got, I think, pyro and intro music and the whole CM Punk level style thing going on here.
That is being saved for CM Punk right now. The entire pyro budget of the USA.
That already happened. Already happened tonight.
Oh, has it? Oh no, you're spoiling stuff for me.
All right.
Shaking my head. Go to sleep, Derek.
Yeah, see, Evan Pasoko got the night off to sit at home and watch Michigan.
Wait, he's watching from home? He's not even at the stadium?
Oh, no, he's at home watching at the stadium. I gave up a live in-person Monday Night Raw star, and Evan Pasoko dumped me for a watch party. He got like stale corn chips and salsa.
I thought you were telling me that Evan was actually in person watching the game, which, that's pretty cool.
No. He's at a watch party.
Well, Evan needs to reevaluate his priorities. I'll reiterate what I mentioned earlier, but that's beside the point. We have 28 laps in the book. First caution of the night. And now pace car ready to peel off and away and leave us, ready to go racing at the Rock once more. It will be Michael Laraya alongside Agnel Phillip, but the 44 in control of the start, and a nice tidy timing for him. He will lead us into the opening corner with Phillip challenged by Farinaj. Demerchant, going to challenge Kyle Trudell in that number 7 machine as we work off of that second corner. The Altus Esports car is already up and past the 7, and now looking to the high line where we've seen him be comfortable before.
All the way to the top up there against the wall. Seth Demerchant riding that thing high there, right behind Agnel Phillip. Now this will be the interesting run for me, Arjuna. Let's see who learned what and how they executed in the second run of this, and what's different than the first verse.
I think it's going to be intriguing as well, given that they've all burned a set of the tires. Remember, they get 4 tire sets over the course of this race, and we didn't even get 30 laps in before that first portion of the night. Demerchant, continues to run that slightly higher line as they bank their way to now complete 30 laps of this one and sends it the long way around. That's confidence, that bravery, and Agnel Phillip once again not willing to fight it too hard down low, and maybe learning the lesson from the first part of the race, Derek, where he burned the tires at the front of the field.
Well, maybe Seth's not learning anything. However, because Seth is pulling what I guess now called the Ross Chastain line up there against the wall and trying to make it work. But I'm surprised to see Seth up there so aggressively. But I mean, when you're only one spot away from P1, you do what you can. But there's the 8 car, one of the cars involved in the last caution. Glad to see Kyle Kammer still out here in racing. I know Doug Roth is out there as well, so not too much damage. There's Doug right there in that Sprite Cranberry machine. So some damage from the wreck, but looks like not anything terminal that I can tell so far.
No, and these drivers are having a real nice fight right now. Down the back of the pack, Nathan Jurgensen passed by Tom Wetmore slightly further up, but look at Don around the outside, and that's 2 positions in about 2 laps with confidence, I tell you as well. He'll close on Harry Grindel, who, let's not forget, started down the very back after not setting a time in qualifying. So he's up from 24th to 12th position, being a really impressive drive, staying out of trouble, using the strategy to his advantage as Montasi Major tries to switch back and back underneath the 04.
Yeah, doing a great job here, getting under there and making a sick little wiggle there for the Sprite car in the bottom. You saw it right there. You see the front end kind of swiggling around at this track. They're going to battle it again here in 3 and 4. And nope. Walmart machine's going to pull ahead here a little bit, and they'll get back in line here on the front straight.
Now, is there actually a Walmart machine in the real world, or is that a fictional car?
There have been Walmart machines in the past in the real world. In real life NASCAR now, Arjuna, but there's so many part-time sponsorships.
True.
I'm sure there is a Walmart car that's just not coming to mind. It's only like, hey, for 4 races, we'll put Walmart out there. I don't know who it would be, though.
Could have just been a one-time deal as well. Michael Guest is now up 5 positions. Remember, he started down on pit lane and had to use that caution to cycle back around, and so he will be quite relieved, I think, with how things played out. Was also able to come down pit lane through the sequence, and so quite fortunate for him as they continue just to keep each other close down towards the tail end of the field. Towards the front, starting to stretch out as Michael Laraya now leads by almost half a second from Seth Demerchant. We've got Agnel Phillip then a further almost 7/10 of a second behind. And as we focus the attention back up front, Demerchant all the way on the outside.
Nothing's changing, right? He's convinced that top line is going to work. Now, what he might be thinking here, and what I was putting in my head about why this line will work, is that when you go up top, you're turning the wheel a little less than what you are for the bottom of the track. So maybe what Demerchant's hoping for is that this race stays green and tire management becomes a concern, in which case maybe he'll have a little bit more tire left at the end of a run than a Laraya or than an Agnel Phillip or an Andrew Friedosh, and he can find some success there. But it just feels so different to see him up at the top of that line. Last night, Terry Radford and I were going through race memories, and there's a race back at Atlanta in, I think, 2003 where Carl Edwards did this at Atlanta, just going to rip the top of the race and slowly gain time And man, that's what it feels like Seth the Merchant's doing, is just trying a different line and trying to rip that top line of the racetrack.
Philip still pretty committed to that lower line, but starting to slide up more and more. It does seem as though it's gotten a little bit darker. You look at those conditions. It's mostly cloudy. That is going to mean we have a pretty big variance as the caution flies for the second time today, and I believe it's because we have the 17 slightly slow on the apron, and that doesn't even seem like there's much damage on the car.
No, not really, right? I mean, compared to what we typically see at a wreck here at a caution. No real damage. I didn't even see a cloud of smoke by the time we got there. Let's look at it again here. Let's be the 17 machine. Let's see what's going to happen. It's going to tag the wall. Nope. Let's keep watching here.
So it looks tidy. You've got
this is 40 happened, by the way.
Got the 48 behind, and he just clips the apron down low, and I don't know if there's contact. The lack of damage to the rear bumper indicates no, but quite intriguing that caused a caution. I guess he was stationary on pit entry, but...
Well, also had it turned 90 degrees technically on the track. If someone would have T-boned or hit him, that would have been way worse. So sometimes race control has to make a call and make that safety decision, that split-second decision to do something that maybe you could have got away with.
And we got the split call on pit lane after what was just 14 or 13 green flag laps. So Michael Araya leads Seth de Merchant and Agnell Phillip to come down and get fresh boots, but Andrew Farinas, Carl Trudell, Tom Whitmore, Cody Harris, and a handful more will stay out there and gamble on saving their tires for later on in this race.
This can't be tires. This has to be the gas only. I'm going to take an eyeball here and see what's going on with Seth the Merchant. This cannot be tires. There's no way this is tires. I don't see the car lifting up.
No, the right side definitely went up there for all of them.
Oh, you're right. Okay, well then I'm flabbergasted. I'm gobsmacked, or whatever word you want to use here, that we're 42 laps in and they've used 2 sets. Wow. Okay, I guess technically you're on their third set.
I think that technically is their third set. No, I think that is the right way to think about it, because 4 tire sets does include the one they start on, doesn't it?
Started on, yeah. They did start on nothing. So, yeah. Wow. I was convinced they were coming down just for maybe fuel only, or to make some kind of adjustment, or
which would have been smart. So
I don't know.
I do see that Eric Papineau is going to get an end-of-line penalty. Of course, we do have live race control, and so that's for cause of caution. But let's be honest, he was already going to the back of the field, so that's a moot point, let's say. Still don't really have a sense, I think, for whether that's a good strategy call or not, because it's all going to depend, I guess, Derek, on how many cautions we still have left to play.
Yeah, that'll be the question. They're going to be stuck out here for a long time on this set of tires, because you're going to want to save a set for the end of the race, to make sure that you don't get caught out on like a late caution or something like that and just get passed. You know me, I'm a man of many words, and very often do I not know what to say, but I'm a little confused, honestly. And of course, now coming back to Eric Papineau real quick, the benefit for him to claim it and take the end of line is that by claiming it, he gets less of a penalty from race control than if they have to assign blame at the end of the race. So the right thing for Papineau to do is just to claim it and take the end of line and go on there. But now we're going to line it up. We're going to have some new people up front, Arjuna. This will be the fun thing. Freenash, Trudell, Whitmore, Cody Harris, Sam Nieto. Now your top 5. So a new top 5 could mean different action than what we've seen before.
Yes, but the point just to remember is these are all still veterans of the Real Sim Racing series, so they all understand what it takes at the front. The best of the drivers on new tires is going to be Michael Araya back on the 6th row for the starting formation. And so I think that's going to be interesting to see how quickly they will charge their way on forward. Corrections come forward in the chat just to make sure that we are clear. 5 sets this race. It's 4 sets on top of the starting set, but we're already almost halfway through this race, and then they've used 2 of the 4 changes that they're allowed. So I'm not sure how good that still looks, no matter how you look from it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes it a little bit better. You're right, 4 additional sets, not 4 total, but that makes the math a little easier, I guess. So it would be 5 divided by 125. But yeah, I don't know.
So here we go.
I like having tires. That's what I'm trying to say.
Most people do, especially at the end if we get a bit of a shootout and it is a situation where drivers all are coming down to pit lane for fuel. Here we go, the pace car off and away, and the worn tires up front get a nice jump. Andrew Farinage leads us back to green at Rockingham Raceway. But further behind, you've got to wonder for those on fresh tires how aggressive they'll be. De Merchant's already sailed past Lariah on that restart, so clearly got a good jump. And now on the outside, is he going to cut back down low on the back straightaway?
Look at that, De Merchant already trying to be aggressive. Oh, big wreck. That's Sam Nieto and somebody else. I can't get an eyeball on the second car in that quick of a shot, but it cautions out again. Sam Nieto in the wall.
I think it was Harry Grindell potentially who got tangled up, but it was drivers, I think, on different strategy calls. I'm not 100% sure, but the first thing that we should do before we go any further is go ahead, take a look at the replay, and figure out what exactly happened.
See him down the straight here. And what's going to happen? Oh, it's in front. Oh, San Diego just got loose in front of him. That is the number 70 car, and then
so we'll take
what happens to Nieto?
Take another look at it, and they'd already crashed, and it's Michael Guest, the other machine involved. So after starting down on pit lane, it's not gone great for him.
Okay, so if you actually look what happens here, I believe in this shot is, as I see it again, Nieto checks up a little bit for the 8 car in front of him, I believe. Scared he's going to run into the 8 in the middle of that corner, and then by checking up, he gets run over, and then chaos just ensues on behind.
That seems like a pretty typical caution breeds caution sort of situation, especially given the split calls on tires. The remarkable thing is Seth De Merchant's up to 6th after the stop for tires. Michael Lariah is 8th, and then Agnel Phillip is in 10th position. So they're all in pretty comfortable spots heading into what will be another restart here, and there's absolutely no way those at the front are going to come down pit lane this time around. If anything, this shorter caution or gap between the cautions, Derek, has actually helped them on their strategy call.
It will help the people who just took tires for certain. It'll help everybody, but I think it would help, you know, De Merchant and Lariah who just took those tires. Now that's a little less time under green, you know, on these tires and making it stretch back out. By the way, I'll share a little fun fact with you. We saw Sam Nieto, unfortunately, in that wreck. We're at the Rockingham tonight. Sam did not want to vote for Rockingham. Sam wanted to vote for Richmond.
Okay.
But he was scared that by voting for Richmond, that it would let Watkins Glen win the vote. So he voted for Rockingham as a way to spite those who wanted to race at the Glen.
So basically, it was just a way to guarantee that he didn't have to go to Watkins Glen.
To a road course, yeah.
Which is, honestly, like that's how sometimes you have to vote, right? Like it's like, we've seen this in some other competitions where you have 4 options being voted for on social media for what track the people are going to race at the next day. And it's like, well, I don't necessarily want them to go there, but I don't want them to go to this other place. And so I will vote for it instead. The rest of the schedule, though, there's not much to really complain about if we're being honest. Charlotte, Auto Club, Atlanta, I mean, that's pretty great.
Yeah, legacy versions, a couple of those tracks as well. So a lot of fun racing came up here. But if you are one of the, I think the 33% who wanted to go race at Watkins Glen, you can hit up Sam Nieto and have a come by. Sam, by the way, we talk about how bumpy this track is. Sam's doing it in a brand new VR headset.
This is a great race to get used to VR, to get your VR legs underneath you.
Well, so he's had VR before, he said, but he upgraded. He bought himself a VR headset for Christmas. Apparently didn't get it under the tree. Santa couldn't fit it in the sleigh, I guess. But so he bought himself one. So yeah, with how bumpy this track is, I don't think this would be my optimal VR racetrack.
It all depends on how you have it set up as well. There are some drivers in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series who have not just VR, but then motion as well. And it's like, yeah, no, you're asking for it at that point.
That I would be scared. I've never done VR. I want to do a motion rig, but I think that would not be how I'd want to do it.
I mean, I have to assume
that is diving in the deep end to start, but that's what that would be, right? That's, yeah.
Yes, I do have to assume that you also have your sick bag directly next to you, by the way, just in case. So Andrew Farinage going to get ready to bring us back to green, but it's Tom Wetmore alongside and Carl Trudell now behind. So starting on the outside with the worn tires, not going to be a great place to be, you'd have to imagine. How aggressive will DeMerchant, Lariah, Phillip be as we get back underway here at Rockingham? Watch the Altus Esports 57. It's up high as per usual, running that high line. Not going to get as much momentum initially, but now going to get chalked up behind the red 28 as we run down the back straightaway.
Now down into turn number 3 and looks at DeMerchant, as you said, again, and there's Michael Lariah now taking notes. Lariah has pretty figured out this top lane works, and he's going to try to follow DeMerchant on around and see what changes here. Now with this Opal refresh that iRacing put out a little more than I think than a month ago now, or maybe right on the month mark, you know, there's been a lot of small changes to how the track line grooves up and how it rubbers in, how you can see the line, how your tires behave. So there's still a lot of learning going on for these oval drivers on what to do at certain tracks.
Michael Lariah gets 1, can he get the 2nd? He's past Kyle Kamer, still working on Cody Harris. You can see DeMerchant's now ducked underneath Carl Trudell, so he's going where the opportunities are. That's important to do, and making use of the fresher tires at the same time as well. Already back up into 3rd position, not even halfway through this race. Yes, they have burned off the extra set of tires, but now in a podium spot and a potential, if they can get past the final couple of machines here, to Derek start to build a gap to those behind.
Yeah, what this is doing is showing the power of tires and new tires at the track, I should say. You know, 20 lap newer tires or whatever it may be here. You're starting to see that power of the new tires and the grip really working as DeMerchant's working his way around and got Lariah right behind him. They've now made a sandwich out of the 7 car.
It's not a comfortable place to be, but it's technically it's a 7 sandwich, so it's a Carl Trudell sandwich because Lewis McLeod's not here, but we always have to remember on RaceSpot, very pedantic about our sandwich and bread definitions. You define the sandwich by the filling and not the stuff around it, the bread.
Right, yeah, you have a turkey sandwich or an egg salad sandwich. You don't have a
bread sandwich.
A bread sandwich.
Yes, no, trust me, I've made that mistake with him one too many times and he's called me out for it. Lariah slides it up the inside as Trudell gets a little bit out of sorts, runs himself up and out of the groove, and now as we look slightly further up, it was DeMerchant trying to squeeze his way to the outside of Tom Wetmore. He's running that line. It's going to be interesting to see how many laps he can get out of the tires before that car starts to get loose. The switchback sees him underneath the 51.
He found a moment there under Tom Wetmore and made it work. Now it's going to slide it back to the top here and get back to familiar territory. But looks like Wetmore got it a little looser, had to check it up out of the corner, and DeMerchant just took advantage and claimed 2nd place here. But now DeMerchant's moving down low and sitting right behind Freenash. I'm curious if this is just trying a new line or if he's playing head games with Andrew Freenash.
I think he needed to close up just a little bit, instantly up high now that he's within 2/10 as we look from this wonderful shot that also shows us just how hard that suspension is really working on these machines. Slightly further back, Agnell Phillips trying to work on Trudell now as he tries to work his way back towards the point where he started this race. Of course, fresh tires for the 94, worn tires for the 7, but battle's not done, not dusted by any means. Check up the front though, where Farinage has gone up high, giving the inside to Seth DeMerchant, who in that Altus Esports 57 takes his fresh tires to the lead.
Well, everyone right now is taking note in the race if they can. Apparently new tires is the right call here because look at DeMerchant, look at Lariah, just eating up the field at this moment. So what they're hoping for is now they might be regretting not following the lead there and making this work because the longer this stays green, the more of a gap that DeMerchant might be able to put on here. But Freenash right now holding on to that draft and sitting right there on DeMerchant. Let's see if Freenash moves up.
It's counter.
Nope,
it's not going to matter because I was just going to say if a caution came out right now, I think it's actually in a very intriguing time. Kyle Kamer's the one that's gone around. Seemingly has a little bit of damage to the right rear quarter panels. He slides back in front of James Ross and we gather things up back behind the pace car. But with this timing of the caution, is everyone going to be down on pit lane or only those that didn't pit the last time around? Oh, he gets turned around coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, he moved up and made some contact with Nathan Jurgensen. Watch it again. He's going to come up out of the corner and move up here. Really nowhere for Jurgensen. Jurgensen is doing the right thing. He's holding the line, running the line, getting up against the wall, and Camera just kept moving up there and then got contact and spun around here. All things considered, just damage to the back of the car, but yet everyone's down pit road. No one's going to risk it this time. We saw the power of the tires.
You say that.
There's no reason not to do it. But hold on, there's
Muntasi Major and Eric Papineau, but I get the sense maybe they'll come in next time by because we're almost halfway through this one. It's an intriguing time for the field. Surely you do want tires, but some of these drivers will be left with just one more set for going on 60 plus more laps. The other drivers will have the confidence, the benefit of having 2 more sets still left in their pockets. So here we go. Important to hit your marks. Don't cost your pit crew a couple of extra tenths of a second in adjusting to find where you are. Who's going to win this race off and away? Of course, with 4 drivers out there still waiting. DeMerchant, Farinage, and then Roth, Lariah, Wetmore going to be the top 5 as the 72 makes a big jump up on what surely is either a no tire or a 2-tire call.
Yeah, so now the question will be to watch here the cars up front with Major and Ross Cato, make sure they are going to pit this time by. That would be a big monkey wrench of a question mark if they don't. So I'm assuming they will. I think they already have. Let's see here.
So they pitted last under that last caution 19 or so laps ago, and 2 of them have come in. Do note again for Doug Roth, he had a 7.9 second pit stop compared to 14.2 for the rest of the drivers. So that is something to keep in mind. DeMerchant slides behind Cato and Major, and it does mean that it seems as though we're going to have 2 drivers up towards the front for the first time today.
Well, this will cause a little bit of uncertainty for DeMerchant, Freenash, Doug Roth, Michael Araya, Wetmore, and on back, because now you're going to be concerned, rightfully or wrongfully, you're going to be concerned the what ifs. What if Major spins the tires? What if Ross Cato misses the start on the outside? What if? And it's going to really be scary here what's going to happen. I suspect they're going to get swarmed very quickly here on this restart, unless they're going to come in here. But the pit road should be closed. I don't think they can come in anymore. So we're going to see here. By the way, fun fact, Arjun, I'm going to share this with you. I never heard of this before. Ross Cato got an egg poacher for Christmas.
Nice. I've been just watching and seeing that Nathan Jurgensen has gotten an end of line, so he's claimed responsibility for that caution.
Wow.
Like you said, I don't necessarily think it was all his fault, but that's the way the system works, and he feels that he could have done just that little bit more. So he'll start down the very back. 24 started. Sam Nieto's 1 lap down. Michael Guest and Yaron Weinmaster are retired. Everyone else is still on the leading lap and has a chance of victory as we close in on half race complete. Half this race still left to go. It's Muntasi Major, Ross Cato that get ready to get us back underway. How aggressive do you think those behind are going to be on this restart?
Oh, very. They want to get around these guys as fast as possible so that in case they don't have the freshest of tires, they don't have a lot of grip, if or when they do spin the car or get loose, it happens behind them and not in front of them. I suspect the Merchant will be probably pushing the inside of Major here into turn 1 if he can't get to the top of the track.
Well, with the pace car ready to peel off and away once again, let's turn it up. Let's enjoy the sights and sound of Rockingham as half race complete. We're back underway with round 5 of the 2024 RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series. Great noise, and those drivers with fresh tires instantly make their point made. DeMerchant, Farinage, Lariah, 1, 2, and 3. Trudell and Muntasi Major continuing to be side by side, as on that outside line, old tires getting freight trained and hung out to dry.
Now, one of those what-ifs came true, Arjun, and what happened, how DeMerchant got his lead, is that Ross Cato was not ready to go and kind of missed the start on the outside lane, and so it really checked up the outside. So DeMerchant got a big run on Major and got to the outside, but caution's out. Hold on, the 14's down pit road, but there's a caution on the track here. So I'll finish that point that, yeah, the outside didn't go, and that's how DeMerchant got his lead, but it's been invalidated by this next yellow.
And you can see the damage on the front of the car there, so I think that is pretty clearly potentially getting tangled up. We can try and figure out what happened on the replay as, the 43's bounced off the wall, and it's all Constantined up behind.
Oh, the 14 just innocent victim right there. Really nowhere to go, and he just got caught out. Oh, man, that's a hard hit by the 47. That's Don Stevenson, who just got up the wall and hit, and then the Walmart car was involved, and the 14, and a couple others here. So now... Oof.
So Stevenson was also the one that slid down, and ran into the bales on the inside of pit lane entry. So that was not a nice experience by any means, and hopefully he wasn't in virtual reality for that one. Demerchant still has the point, though. That is the important thing. So the call on tires still leaves him one up on Andrew Farinage, but it's a very, very interesting situation that we find ourselves in with 58 laps officially left to go. Ross Cato's going to bring it down pit lane. Muntasi Major, though, has decided, you know what, let's stay out there for a little bit longer.
Let's do it again, right? So I don't know if we can go back one more time. I think we're going to actually see it in a different camera angle. That Sean Kalis got loose in front of Don Stevenson, and then when Don checked up and slapped the brakes really hard, that's what caused his car to get out of control. So I don't know who's going to claim the caution here. In fact, it is Sean Kalis. Kalis has claimed the caution as his fault. He's the first one to get loose in front of Don Stevenson.
And so we did see that on the replay. You can see the damage to the right front as well. He's going to slide to the back of the field. 24 starters is now down to 18 left down on the leading lap. And if we go green from here, it should be about 20-odd minutes of racing for those up towards the front. The nature of these 2x2 restarts does, of course, mean that the field is slightly more compact and close together, but that is one of the skills that you have to develop in a series like this, Derek, is understanding how to run in these 2x2 formations.
Yeah, it's tricky, and every track has its own risks or own challenges it will pose to you, whether it be the bumpy tracks, whether it be how hard you get squeezed, maybe at a short track, there's not a lot of room at all. You have to learn how to run 2x2 and feel comfortable and how to get that run off of a corner. So you're right, it is a challenge here, but you know, and a lot of it's just hours and hours of laps and hours of practice and racing to get it done. And that's why I talked about it. I really thought that we would see the current and former eNASCAR drivers dominate this race because they've had those hours and hours of track time. But there's some great names up top who aren't part of that group here. But I mean, you got Agno Phillip, Freenash, Demerchant, all top 6 right now. So, you know, experience does matter.
And I get the sense that we're also at the stage of the race where you've gone through a couple of your sets of tires, some left, of course, with just one more set to go, that you are going to be relying on that experience. We've gotten past 70-odd laps. We've had, 4 cautions so far. If you extrapolate out from there, we've still got plenty more of these interruptions left to come, and when they do drop is going to be so important. So if you are Seth Demerchant, what are you thinking right now, Derek? How aggressive are you going to go?
If you're Seth Demerchant, I think in a way you're almost begging for the cautions to keep happening and bring down that number of laps that you need, you know, to run on a set of tires. You're just kind of begging for it. But that said, though, sometimes the drivers like Seth Demerchant don't like this stop and go of a race. They want it to go green and find a groove. But I mean, if you're Demerchant, obviously I think what he's really thinking though is, let's go green. I'm going to get around Andrew. I'm going to get to the top of the track and I'm going to feel comfortable, and whatever happens is probably what he's thinking.
We saw the drivers on fresh tires go aggressive to pass those at the front. Now they've been able to put some distance between them. How are they going to tackle this one? We have 55 laps left to play to crown a winner to open a new year, and it's here at the Rock where the drivers chose to come and race, and so far Seth Demerchant has been able to work his way to the front. Michael Lara is going to try and join him in a 1 and 2 because Andrew Farinage slightly jumped initially on the getaway, but as Demerchant goes up high, gets very, very loose. They fan out 3 abreast off the opening corner. Farinage going to use that draft to hold on to second position. Lara now defends from Carl Trudell, who goes the long way around.
Oh, look at above Lariah. Trudell's up there, and I thought Lariah didn't know it for a second, but now they're going to get it worked out for the moment here. That's going to be Agno Phillip all over his back bumper there, trying to see if he can make something happen. But right now, the first time tonight, Demerchant's really under attack under green. Look at Freenash doing a great job of keeping him honest and keeping with him.
What a great look from up above. That showed us just how much of a arc some of these drivers are running in through the corner. You can see Philip now getting stuck behind the 7 of Carl Trudell, who's been able to work past the 44. And now the pole position sitter will try and follow in that bright red machine. The 7 runs the middle ground. That tries and pinches Lorai just that little bit. Farina are still working underneath of DeMerchant up towards the front. These drivers starting to build up that intensity as we close on 50 to go.
Yeah, as the laps go down, the intensity will build up because the drivers realize how little time is left here. At 24 seconds a lap, 50 laps will go by in a snap of a finger. So you can't be patient anymore. Look, Cody Harris, by the way, still up here. Cody had a busy holiday season, not a lot of practice time. Spent some time down in Dallas at the bowl game for Ohio State. So hasn't practiced this at all and is doing a great job here with 52 to go to be up here in the top 7.
Still watching at the very tail end of this first pack, but you can see Muntasi Major still holding on to 8th position as behind him Doug Roth and Harry Grindell squabbling amongst each other and running up into the wall as well. That's not ideal for Roth in the 72 as he bounces back down onto the regular racing surface where cars are intended to be. Like we said, high intensity, high action stuff. Finally, DeMerchant starting to build up his gap at the front. It's now a full half a second as the tires start to now feel a little bit of the pain. He's almost up into the wall.
I'm going to challenge that thought if we go back to Major for a second. I don't know if Major is racing those guys or if he's holding them up because now they're starting to get around him. And I thought that's what was happening with Muntasi Major a second ago. But look at DeMerchant, as you said, ripping this top line and doing a great job here. Now is Cody Harris under attack from the 51. That is Tom Wetmore. Oh, Tom, hold on to it. Man, I thought that saw the car wiggle a little bit, but he held on to it and held it up in the top lane there. But look how much now people apparently have learned from Seth DeMerchant in this race, because when we started this, you know, whatever, it's been almost 80 laps ago now, everyone rode the bottom. Now it's hard to find someone who runs the bottom consistently.
Seeing that migration, but again, they've all equalized in terms of when they came down to get tires, and so we should hopefully not be seeing anyone who now 20 laps in, plenty of running under the caution on these tires, is feeling too much pain. Philip goes down below the yellow line, just trying to enter a little bit more aggressively and rotate the car underneath of Trudell. You go back to Grindell, who's been able to work past the likes of Muntasi Major. Major's now losing time hand over fist as everyone gets past him.
Yeah, now we're at that point for Major where those tires really are hurting and screaming and begging for to be changed right here. We're going to ride on board here. I believe this is with Major. Yep, that is Major right there, a Florida native. Back here in P14, he's got Ross Cato behind him, who's on that same tire strategy. So these guys could have a fun race, you know, accidentally just been by the cars who are on that odd tire strategy. Now, what they're hoping for, I don't know anymore, because with the number of cautions, I think tire sets are going to be probably a moot point. But hey, weird strategies play off sometime.
We've got 45 to go next time by as these drivers just try and hold on to things. I would suspect that we are not done with the cautions by any means, and so that's something to keep in mind. Both of these drivers at the front, but also slightly further back. You can see on the track map just how much the separation has started to build. Haven't really had to talk too much about lap traffic being a factor today, and get the sneaking suspicion that it's going to continue to be that way, at least for the time being. Michael Lorai is alongside with Carl Trudell. Surprising to see that Michael Lorai has dropped back to the tail end of the leading group.
Yeah, drop back here, and now we can get around Trudell and then catch up here with that battle in front of him. That involves Cody Harris and Agno Phillip. You're right, though. He was in that same strategy as DeMerchant for a while. It's a tale of two stories as far as how it's played out. But really, I think the DeMerchant success has to do with that restart with the Major and up on the pole, where Cato didn't get the best start, and DeMerchant sort of got advantage here where no one else did.
See some damage on the right front of Carl Trudell's bumper. I have a feeling that some of these drivers have been knocking down the wall more than others. We ride on board with Cody Harris, who seems as though he's got a pretty clean car, at least from the camera perspective that we have right now. The important thing just to listen to is how they enter into the corner. You could hear him just releasing off the throttle, trying to caress the momentum down on towards the corner itself, and then patiently back onto the power. So much of this is just about feeling and understanding what the car wants to do underneath you.
A lot of racing, to be successful, is about listening. And that sounds so counterintuitive. We look at the thing we talk about all the time as racers. We want to talk about what we're feeling, or we want to look ahead, but listening is so important. Listening to those tires, listening to how the car reacts as it wiggled right there. If you listen to your tires and you know what's going on with them, you can get a lot of data just from those auditory clues.
Yeah, some people in iRacing will turn the tires up louder than anything else. It's one of those things where, let's not forget in oval racing, going back to a decade ago in the eNASCAR side of things, before it was officially referred to under that label, sometimes they used to run without force feedback, so all sorts of weird things would help you go fast. Trudell, I think that damage might have been costing him time, by the way, because he's lost track of those up towards the front. Cody Harris goes up high, lets Lariah slip on through underneath him in the 44. Move not officially done just yet, but 39 laps left to go. It's only 1.8 seconds back to Harry Grindell and those behind. Like you were saying with Bentasi Major holding these drivers up, now that the cork in the bottle's been opened, they might start to close just a little bit.
Yeah, they'll start to close up that gap a little bit here, especially if they stay on line and use a little bit of draft you can get and just don't race each other. The 7 and a 71 of it is right there will, or 7 and 70, pardon me, will get caught up here a little bit just by doing it that way. Nope, never mind. There's a 70 on the outside. Now we're going to try to get around Trudell. And nope, never mind. They're going to race it out.
Not making it easy by any means, but finally through. Grindell slides up yet another position. 17 spots gained for him. Check in with Lariah, who's now trying to go the long way around on Cody Harris. He's switched it back in the attempt to try and squeak on through. You can tell that tires may be at the point now where drivers are having to find slightly different lines, but maybe also getting to the point where if another caution did come out for the drivers with only one tire set left, they would feel somewhat comfortable in getting to the end and maybe not being fast, Eric, but at least having some tire underneath them.
Yeah, having some tires. Right now what you're seeing from drivers such as Cody Harris or others is they're lifting a little bit more and more to avoid those tire problems, because you can just see it, or you can see the cars wiggle a little bit out of the corners. Cody Harris almost kind of slides the back end out of every corner right now, having a hard time. But here's Agnew Phillip. Watch him. I don't have any problems for Agnew. He's going to move up the track, but does fine there. That's Michael Lariah on the outside, and then that's going to be Tom Wetmore up ahead. Tom is having a great night, by the way. P3 told me he spent his Christmas holiday break in the House of Mouse, as he put it. Has never touched his track before practice tonight.
Yeah, again, that's probably not uncommon to hear from many of these drivers. He's doing decent, and now he's got to hold off Lariah, who's charged forward. He's going to see him, I think, increasingly impatient, because Wetmore's 1.7 seconds off of the race leader, and so as the 51 rides the almost highest line that you can get up to on the entry, V's it back down on the run out of turn 2. Lariah just trying to find some momentum, will chuck it up the inside and hope that it will hold.
Yeah, Wetmore's going to try to hold it up here and see if he can make it happen. The battle off will put Wetmore ahead, because Wetmore will get a better run out of the corner just because he'll carry more speed on that top line. So typically at a moment like this when tires are worn off, typically your top line will get the better run here. It's going to be, I think, a lap car on the inside here. And now Lariah is going to try to make it work here, but I think again Wetmore will have the advantage. Let's see.
Still has the ability with the tires to put the power down at the very least, so that's important as much as the rear end is wiggling around on him. Again, it's so bumpy around here that no matter what line you're running, you're holding on in some ways for dear life, and as they cycle out of Thunder Alley once again, you can see a rear end of Wetmore just not perching down on the ground, and so now finally Lariah tries to slide up the track and just uses momentum. He's trying everything, but he's knocking at a brick wall for the time being.
Now, what I think he was trying there is maybe to get the draft, but he's also trying something a little different here. Let's watch his pass here. They're going to be side by side out of the corner for the first time. Now let's see what Lariah does here in 3 and 4. I think Wetmore's still going to get it, I'm not sure.
Needs to try and get closer on exit or entry if he wants to use a bit of the side draft, and if anything, he's lost a bit of ground, lost a bit of steam. Speaking of which, by the way, so is Harry Grindell. The gap up to those at the front starting to build, and as Carl Trudell continues to slide backwards, now it's Ross Cato, the next one that's going to try and close, because Nathan Jurgensen's already gotten back on pass up to 8th position. As I think that's Trudell. Is that Trudell indicating he might come down pit lane? That was a little bit weird.
I think that was just a loose race car off the 2 and a great save. I think what that was, because just kind of the car wanted to snap to the left, and he did his best just to kind of lift ever so slightly and hold on to it. But yeah, great job there by Trudell. Now he's going to get past on the inside here. That's going to be Ross Cato. Ross, by the way, great job, Ross. P10, he is the other car besides Matsuji Major, who stayed out a long time ago and has not been on pit road since, I don't believe.
No, he did come down. He was sensible, unlike Muntasi.
Okay.
And that's why he's running up inside of the top 10 right now, unfortunately. Muntasi's down in 14th spot and starting to slide backwards, in danger of going a lap down. Kamer's going to try and peek up the inside in the 8-ball machine. Ask the Magic 8-ball, will the move happen? I think there's a 50-50 chance of it before they get into the next part of the corner, but not done just yet. Finally on exit, just a little bit more traction from that rear end as it starts to drift around, though. Kamer releases that throttle. They're neck and neck at the line.
They are neck and neck, and this time the inside lane is going to work better. Kamer is going to get the inside lane here and pass up on Trudell. He appears to be having a hard time, but man, look how much the 8 just slid up that track there. I don't think that was intentional. I mean, this is how the tires are behaving and how hard it is to hold on to this car here. I mean, that 8 car's had a really embattled night. Arjun had been involved in a couple wrecks. I think not all his fault, or maybe none were his fault, but a very difficult night for that 8 car.
It's been one of those days. I think not everyone's had an easy day. Michael Lorai still knocking at the brick wall. Is he finally going to get it done, though, because he's alongside on exit? And as they run out of the corner, Wetmore in the wall somehow holds on. Phillip squeaks through as well. He doors himself into the wall too. Lariah goes up high, blocks the path of the 94 as they cycle out of the corner once more. 1.6 seconds off the back of Andrew Farinaj, almost 4 seconds off of your race leader.
Now, I'm not sure if that was contact or just dirty air that caused that, but all of a sudden out of nowhere, Wetmore just got a little loose, got up in the wall, and then everything sort of moved from there. I don't think Agnell touched him. I think that was just dirty air on the back of that bumper, and the car just behaved differently than what Wetmore was expecting.
Let's go ahead, by the way, and take a look at the onboard perspective here, because you were right. It was a great save from Kyle Trudell.
If you're in an oval and your wheel's pointed that far to the right coming out of a corner, that is not a good day. Like, remember, I know there's the meme about left-hand turns, but if your wheel's pointed that far to the right, you are not having a fun day in a stock car.
I tell you what, let's ride on board with Agnell Phillip right now and just watch the hands at work. It's an interesting perspective that we can get in this virtual world, and especially seeing the lines that Phillip's running. Quite interesting to see where the steering's going.
Man, look at the movement. You and I did a broadcast together over the weekend. We talked about how smooth those hands were when we were looking inside the window of some of the road cars we were following. Look at the difference here. Look how Agnell Phillip is working those hands. And really, there's not a moment where he's holding still.
It's not easy. It is not easy. Seth DeMerchant does indeed, by the way, hold now a 2.2 second lead. These drivers are starting to close on Andrew Farinaj for second as Cody Harris knocks on the door of Tom Wetmore, who's of course been into the wall but still running out on track. 20 laps to go. Don't expect that we're going to see any of these drivers into pit lane. I am a little bit worried about Muntasi Major, though. Are his tires going to hold on? He's been on track for 62 laps and counting.
Yeah, that's a valid question. I was starting to think the same thing here. We've been green for a little bit, but you're right. If it stays green, you'd have a hard time. You need like a crowbar to pry these guys down pit road, I think. But yeah, for Major, I agree with you. My concern is that tire may blow. We do have blowouts in iRacing. They often are not as violent or as maybe difficult as a real-life race car, but you know that blowout could put him up on the wall and bring out that word I don't want to use.
Yes, let's hope it doesn't come out. Farinaj does not defend as Lariah slips his way up into second. 2.5 seconds, though, behind your race leader, Seth DeMerchant, who may have taken a tire gamble that's paid off handsomely indeed. Back to Wetmore, who's been passed by Cody Harris. He's going to try and still continue to run that outside groove and hold on, but you've got to wonder how much damage there is for Wetmore after what we saw. The right front of his bumper definitely knocked in right now.
Well, and on top of the physical damage to the car right now, what there could be is just a little bit of emotional damage. And what I mean by that is just anger inside the car, right? You're mad that it happened to you. From your perspective, maybe you do think Agnell got in the back of you, and you're sort of mad and angry and you're driving like it. And sometimes driving angry is a benefit, and sometimes driving angry just leads to more mistakes than the first one you made.
Yeah, how do I know that? Because I was that driver that used to just get in my own head, and it's a perpetual cycle that it's not a pleasant place to be. I can promise you that much from experience. Carl Trudell hoping to hold on to 11th spot as Sam Nieto in that bright red machine's up the inside and trying to squeak on through.
For the big wreck we saw Sam Nieto in earlier. Always nice to see him back out here. Of course, as we said, one of our VR racers here. Doing a great job here. Just made the pass there, by the way. That's for P11. So Kyle Cameron 8 will be the next target for that. I don't know. It used to be called the Blue Deuce. I guess now it's the Red 2. Or I'll have to come up with an alliteration for that.
See, but that's the problem with temporary sponsors in real and virtual motorsports. You can never have a nickname for a car because you don't know if it'll show up next week. Sorry, I'm talking about IndyCar now. Michael Larice, 3 seconds back from Seth DeMerchant as we check back in with Farinaj, who's holding quite steady to the back of the 44. If you are the Altus Esports car, something just to keep in mind, well, you are beginning to close on a little bit of traffic.
Well, if you're the Altus car, the thing to keep in mind is you are begging for this to stay green. Right now, you have a comfortable 3-second lead over Michael Larice. You can probably back that up a little bit, so you deal with less traffic at the end of this race, but you are begging for nothing stupid to happen here and for this to finish here. Now, of course, I said back it up, and he's already at the traffic here, so we'll see one of his first passes of lap traffic right here. That'll be the 72 on the inside. He'll get by cleanly.
Nice and easy, all things considered, as DeMerchant continues just to be very comfortable. That's what you want to be as well when you're running these lines that maybe require some practice. If you're able to keep it calm and a solid, stable right foot, that's sometimes all you can really hope for. The gap between Larice and Farinaj is just continuing to grow, as indeed is the gap between most of the rest of the top 10 right now. So as we get ready to enter into these final 10 laps, it's been a bruising race for some, but a race of attrition and strategy for others.
Yeah, that strategy is paying off. That strategy that we thought may have been odd for Larice and DeMerchant and others. You're right, it's now paid off here because now they are 1 and 2. And there's Andrew Farinaj back here in P3, now also doing his own wall riding. Now, the danger and the difficulty of wall riding like that, Arjuna, is that it takes a lot of skill and a lot of practice to be able to do that and not scrub the wall and not let the wall slow you down. You know, if my memory serves Rockingham, I think there are 2 types of walls in oval iRacing. There's huggers and there's bouncers. This is a hugger wall. If you hit the wall here, it's going to suck you in, and it's really hard to get off this wall. There are some walls, like I think Atlanta or, you know, like the super speedways, they sort of want to like bounce you off really quick, but this wall will suck you in and eat all of the speed out of your car. Yes.
I thought you were going somewhere else with that pun for a second. Still very good. 10 laps to go officially as we check in with Ross Cato, who's trying to work on the back of Harry Grindell. We've got a handful of laps left to work, but you talked about track evolution, where we were going to see the drivers move. They've definitely gone from that low line to the high line. Finally, Cato gets a look inside, doesn't go for it just yet because we've still, of course, got these couple of laps left to run, and these drivers fight. Wetmore trying to hold on to his 6th position after, of course, being slammed into the wall slightly. He's going to run up into the high line once again, but the 31 squeaks his way up the inside.
Great job here by the 31 getting inside of Wetmore and making it happen. That's Nathan Jurgensen, who we saw involved in the incident earlier, and actually claimed fault for that. Very admirable, by the way, that he did that. I think that I think he did it incorrectly, but that's neither here nor there. Oh, big run here up in that lap car, the 17. And that's going to put Wetmore a little bit more behind Jurgensen due to where they were when they caught him.
And you can see from behind, Grindell and Cato closing too, so I don't think it's done for Wetmore in terms of the pain. Muntasi may just come in, by the way, so 7 laps shy. Gambled on an additional caution to maybe get him to the end without an additional pit stop. Has not played out like that, unfortunately, but it was a gamble, I think, worth taking, all things considered. The time on pit lane, though, going to drop 2 laps down at the end of this one on the timing sheet. 5 to go for your race leader, who's now 3.2 seconds clear of Michael Larice. Seth DeMerchant's had a storming run today.
Yeah, great dominant run here. And great dominant runs by Seth the Merchant has been the story of the IceBreaker series. At times it's been muddied by contact with Malik Ray or other drivers and sort of, muddied that water of the story a little bit. But the Merchant's had an amazing season here so far. And it's hard to think there's not a world where he doesn't walk out of this in 3 weeks' time with the IceBreaker title.
Still have some intriguing races left to come, but yeah, I mean, 3 races in 5, that's a pretty good mark to kick things off. 4 laps to go for your leader as Wetmore just continues to frustrate those behind. I've got to say, if any of the Wetmore clan are watching on, Christian Horner, foot taps, biting fingernails, all sorts of anxious nerves must be going through the minds right now.
And I'm not so convinced that Wetmore is faster versus he's just kind of holding up that car behind him. I don't know, because that car behind him is reacting awfully a lot to what Wetmore is doing. I could be wrong though, maybe Wetmore is faster, but that 70 car behind him was just moving around a lot and hitting the wall, trying to get around Wetmore. So I'm not sure, but here's Ross Cato on the inside. Will he make the pass in the next 3 laps?
Both Cato and Grindell trying to go in opposite directions to try and find a way past, and as they run off the corner basically equal, 70 has to get off the throttle, off the loud pedal, because the 51 is directly in front. I've got to say, this defensive line is playing a treat right now. All he's got to do is hold on for 2 more laps and hold on to that 7th position as the Merchant gets ready to see the white flag.
Oh man, what Grindell needs to do is to get down here behind Cato and use that little bit of draft, I think, just to get around Wetmore instead of trying to race him like this. But that's not going to happen here, I don't think. But that's what I would do, see if I can make that pass happen. Here's the white flag, by the way.
Officially in the air as DeMerchant behind some traffic goes down low. 1 more lap in this fight for 7th as Wetmore's going to lead them at the line. Back around to see the checkered flag next time by. But here comes the Altus Esports number 57. Didn't start at the front, no, but worked his way on forward. A gamble on strategy we didn't quite think would work out. DeMerchant wins to open 2024 and make it 3-5 in the RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series.
What dominance. What a great run by Seth DeMerchant. What a great job there tonight.
Tom Wetmore will hold on to 7th, just in front of Ross Cato by 71 thousandths of a second. Galen Gidman finishes in front of Braden Whitaker by 88 thousandths of a second. Some photo finishes up and down, but burning it down in victory lane is that Altus Esports number 57. After this, Charlotte, a trip to Auto Club, and then Atlanta to close things off. Of course, in Charlotte and Atlanta's case, we'll go to the legacy configurations. For Auto Club, there is only now a legacy configuration. It's going to be intriguing, but 3 very different races for DeMerchant still left to tackle.
Yeah, 3 very different races, and all tracks I'm sure he's familiar with in different ways. So I love the schedule of the series. We'll wait and see what happens. But look, you've already parked here on Winner's Circle. He's been here enough. He knows where it is.
He knew exactly where to send that car after those donuts. Let's take a look at the race results. Confirm a 3.5 second margin of victory at the end for Seth DeMerchant. Very, very impressive stuff here today. And of course, I mean, it has been a season of close finishes. No such dramas here tonight. Michael Araya second, Andrew Farinaj third, with Agnel Phillip, Cody Harris, and then Nathan Jurgensen making up the rest of your top 6. Tom Wetmore just in front of Ross Cato and Harry Grindell. And as much as they fought, it didn't allow Kyle Kamer to close a little bit closer to them. He finishes down in 10th position with Sam Nieto 11th, the final car on the lead lap, with Galen Gidman, Braden Whitaker, and then Carl Trudell through the top 14. Doug Roth 15th, Eric Papineau 16th with DeAndre Kane. Montasi Major 2 laps down after the late pit stop. James Ross 10 laps down, and then Sean Kalis, the first of the DNFs, down 42. Mike Maddox, Don Stevenson, Michael Guest, and then Jaron Weinmaster make up the 24 drivers that saw the green flag, and will hopefully get the opportunity to chat to some of these drivers in a few moments' time. They have to get the memo about where to go for some of these interviews, so we will give them the few moments' time before we chat to them. Let's just remind everyone of that schedule, though, Derek, before we get that opportunity to dive to victory lane.
Yeah, so next week, Evan Pasoka will be back here in the booth for the race at Charlotte, the Legacy layout. Then we'll go to Auto Club and finish it off at the old 2008 version of Atlanta. At the end of January is when the IceBreaker series will end. I'm excited. This has been an amazing schedule. It looks very basic on the outside look, but different types of tracks, mile and a halves, 2 miles, 1 miles, legacy tracks. This has been a true test for these drivers.
Let's head down to victory lane where Seth the Merchant is standing by. Seth, another victory, one to open up 2024 as well. Talk us through that from your perspective, especially with the gamble on tires that both me and Derek weren't sure how it would play out at the end.
Yeah, I was just hoping it would go green because I knew I was down a set on pretty much everybody behind me other than Lariah. And just, I was kind of gambling that it was going to be like a 30-lap run. I kind of sent it, got the lead, and started saving my tires once I got the track position, and it just worked out.
So this was the driver's choice. Did you choose this? Did you vote for the trip to Rockingham?
Nah, I voted for Watkins Glen, but I am a fan of this track too, so I mean, I'll take it.
It worked either way, it sounds like. Of course, after this, we've still got 3 races to go. Charlotte up next. How are you feeling about that one in a week's time?
Pretty good. It's one of my favorite tracks as well, and just try to get another points finish, and just see what we can do.
Sounds like championship racing. Congratulations on the win, Seth, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
So from victory lane, we will step on down to the third step of the podium where Andrew Farinaj is standing by with Derek Watson.
Well, Andrew, a podium tonight is the end result here for the 88 machine. How was that race out there at Rockingham? How did that feel in the car?
It was an interesting race. A lot of cautions there at the start, but to end on that long run was a ton of fun. Track's really challenging, so it may have made the best broadcast, but from a race car perspective, us driving was just crazy. Really had to work the gas, and it was a ton of fun out there.
So eventually everyone moved up to the top of the track, but at first you saw Seth the Merchant as one of the only few people at the top of the track. Were you convinced you would be up there by the end of the night, or was that a surprise to see the top working so well?
No, I through a lot of testing. I kind of knew the top was faster. I'm just shocked the tires didn't fall off up there. Seth and Michael there are hell of a drivers because I could not get it to work with tires, but they both moved up there, and eventually I tried it and I kind of figured it out. But how they did not burn their tires off just baffled me. But that's just speaking how good those guys are, and they showed it. Seth was a great win there, and Michael was a lot of fun to race him. I kind of could keep with Michael after that, but yeah, it was a surprise to see the tires not fall off up there.
Yeah, so the commentary tonight, or the thought tonight, or the question tonight's been, of course, this was the driver vote. This is the one that all of you voted for in Discord. So the question we've been asking everyone, did you actually vote for this track?
I did. At one point on iRacing, this was my favorite track. I've kind of moved away from it since they put the top line in. It's been so dominant, but I still do like this track, and I did vote for it.
There you go. Well, we found one. A lot of people said they voted for Watkins Glen. We had a couple Richmond votes tonight, so glad we found someone who did. Well, listen, Andrew, great job tonight in P3, and we'll see you next week at Charlotte.
Thanks so much, and thank God we didn't do a road course because I would have been dead last for that.
All right, well, great job. We'll see you next week. There you go. Well, Arjuna, we found at least one person who owned up to voting for it, and apparently he was grateful it wasn't a road course based on what he said at the end there.
It was a fun race. You don't need every race to be side-by-side, thousandths at the line. Races like that where strategy play their part are intriguing as well. And as we mentioned, next time we go racing on the 15th of January, it is over to the Legacy Charlotte. I'm not sure quite what conditions we'll have, whether it's night, sunset, night, afternoon, but whatever the case may be, I can promise you one thing. It won't be as bumpy as tonight's race was.
No, it'll be a great race. A lot of side-by-side racing, a lot of hard racing, and it'll be fun to see. I'm excited. 1 week from tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern here on RaceSpot. We'll be live.
And hopefully Evan Pasoko gets his priorities straight before then, because otherwise that would be 2 weeks in a row where he'd missed some great RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series action. For now, it is time to say goodbye. What a run we had here at Rockingham. Only a handful of cautions, surprisingly clean and green, and with strategy that did make its mark. 2024 started off with a bang, but with a familiar winner, Seth DeMerchant, for the third time in 5 races, extends his championship gap at the front of the RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series. For Derek Watson, alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in a week's time as we continue the run of 2024.